I'm Wes from Recommended Playing, and this video will cover all of the 9 mixed juices available in Dead Rising 2 Off the Record, with information on how to make them, what they do, and their practical applications. This might contain some minor spoilers for a few Psychopath and Scoop events. Mixed juices are efficient healing items and can provide powerful or useful buffs. These can unfortunately only be consumed by Frank. Survivors just won't accept Frank's crazy concoctions. If you are rescuing survivors, you'll want to carry some standard healing items like orange juice or alcohol. Otherwise, you should be exclusively a juice enjoyer. They're just the most efficient ways to heal. This guide will not go over every single food combination to make the juices. I'll only be covering the easiest and most practical mixes in the context of Dead Rising 2 Off the Record. There are quite literally hundreds of different combinations, but really, you only need to know the ones that are actually easy to make. A quick note, but all juices can be boosted with the Juice Boost magazine. Most of the time this is not overly practical, but it can be moderately useful. If you want additional information on magazines, you should check out the dedicated video on the subject. One final note, if you're trying for the Pure Wall Memorial Cup trophy, you should be able to use mixed juices. This includes juices that are mixed with alcohol or dairy. The proof's in the Rumor Record video, you can check that out. That being said, if you want the Pure Wall Memorial Cup trophy, I highly recommend sticking exclusively to orange juice, just to be safe. The Energizer juice will cause Frank to become immune to damage for 10 seconds. The Energizer, like all mixed juices, will heal Frank for 6 health blocks. The most practical recipe for an Energizer is chili and chili. This is readily available in Rojo Diablo Mexican restaurant in the food court, which also conveniently houses a blender. You can also use lobster and pasta, which is available in Cucina Donaci, also in the food court. You can use apple and pineapple, as well as apple and whiskey to make Energizers, but they are significantly harder to make this way. You can grab some whiskey from various bars and bring it to Rojo Diablo Mexican restaurant, and combine them with the apples inside for some easy Energizers. No doubt, the Energizer juice's effect is strong, but it's also very limited. It's only useful when you're in real danger of being comboed to death, and that's kind of impossible to predict. This is most prevalent in the PS4 and Xbox One remasters, specifically with the snipers on the Platinum and Silver strips. They can machine gun fire their sniper rifles in those versions, and this can be a real problem. You can alleviate this problem of near instant death by endless combo by bringing an Energizer juice with you. You'll survive, but you may not survive once the effect runs out. Unfortunately, the 10-second effect is so limited that the Energizer juice just really isn't worth going out of the way for. The effect is strong, but you're likely better off sticking with the new mixed juice, the Painkiller, instead for more reliable damage mitigation, as well as having greatly superior availability. The Nectar juice will cause a queen to spawn nearby Frank. Queens will only spawn in near Frank after having witnessed the queen cutscene in the path to the safe house on the morning of the second day. If you haven't seen this cutscene yet, no queen will spawn when you consume a nectar. Drinking a second nectar while having the nectar effect active will also not spawn a second queen. You'll have to wait for the effect to wear off before consuming a second nectar for that queen. The nectar's effect lasts for a whopping 6 minutes, and just like all mixed juices, a nectar heals for 6 health blocks. The absolute easiest mix for nectar is 2 orange juices or 2 apples. You can stock up on orange juice from Roy's Mart in Royal Flush Plaza and quickly bring it to a blender at the bar in the Slot Ranch Casino. You can also make a nectar using 2 apples in Rojo Diablo Mexican restaurant. Finally, in the Pub of Gold on the Silver Strip, you can find a small stockpile of orange juice you can blend into nectars at the nearby blender. The nectar is a solid healing item with a useful effect, as you can heal and then grab a zombie clearing queen to refill your inventory. You can think of this queen like a zombie clearing grenade. In Dead Rising 2, queens are simply less useful. With quote-unquote superior survivor AI off the record, and generally more open areas, this means the value of crowd clearing queens is lessened. You can still opt to carry a queen or 2 around for emergencies, but they're significantly less useful. This is doubly true because of the prevalence of combo weapons and their large crowd clearing capabilities. There are a handful of situations where a queen is moderately useful. Most notably is BB in the Scoop one-hit wonder. You can use a queen here to safely save BB and avoid an accidental mutiny. You can pre-mix a nectar by using the OJ and Roy's Mart before starting BB's request list. Then you can use the queen once you've completed her tasks for an easy rescue. Queens are also useful for both Luz and then the Tape It or Die crew, who are both being swarmed by zombies when you try to rescue them. In Dead Rising 2 Off the Record, the only specific survivors you care about are Denise and Richard for trophies. Everyone else should be considered expendable, since there's simply no Saint trophy. Thankfully, you don't need to do any Queen collecting in Dead Rising 2 Off the Record. This means the nectar is overall less valuable. You can easily get through the game without blending a nectar or using a Queen. The painkiller juice will cause Frank to take reduced damage from enemy attacks. This effect lasts for 1 minute. The painkiller, like all juices, will heal Frank for 6 health blocks. The painkiller is by far the easiest mixed drink to make in Dead Rising 2 Off the Record. It also has the simplest recipes and the most locations to mix them in. The combinations are all dead simple. Vodka with vodka, whiskey with whiskey, and finally, beer with beer. These materials are readily available at almost every bar. You can easily get the materials and blend painkillers at Shots and Awe in the Americana Casino, Jugs Bar and Grill on the Platinum Strip, the Bar and Slot Ranch Casino, Baron Von Broadhouse in the Yucatan Casino, and the Pub of Gold on the Silver Strip. The painkiller is easily the most readily available mixed juice in the game. You can very easily stock up almost anywhere in Fortune City. This makes it the go-to mixed juice for Frank to drink throughout the game. Most of the locations to make painkillers also have unlimited supplies of alcohol, so you can make as many as you need quickly and painlessly. The effect is very strong, giving you 1 minute of reduced damage taken. This is a much more practical effect than the 10 seconds of invulnerability granted from an Energizer, especially for psychopath battles. After taking damage, you can chug a painkiller and you'll have reduced damage for pretty much the rest of the fight. Most psychopath battles won't last much longer than a minute or two, so the limited duration of the damage reduction isn't that much of a hindrance. Painkillers are Frank's new best friend in Dead Rising 2 Off the Record. Just remember the mixes: 2 vodka, 2 beer, and 2 whiskey. Extremely simple and easy to remember. Whenever you're near a bar and need to stock up, it's dead simple to make a few painkillers. The Quickstep Juice will cause Frank to gain significantly increased movement speed, and this effect lasts for 1 minute. The Quickstep, like all juices, will heal Frank for 6 health blocks. There are a lot of ways to make Quicksteps, but by far and wide, the easiest way to make them is 2 wines. This is a lot like painkillers. Double wine is an easy mix, and it's readily available in unlimited quantities in Baron Von Broadhouse in the Yucatan Casino, as well as Shots and Awe in the Americana Casino. These are the easiest places to make quick steps. These 2 bars both have a blender to quickly make as many quick steps as you can carry. Quick steps are useful for both getting around Fortune City as well as in psychopath battles. Quick steps will help you close the distance faster so you can take some hits and then get out before the inevitable counterattack. Other than psychopath battles, quick steps are useful for just getting around Fortune City. The timeline can get a little tight, and anything you have at your disposal to speed up running from A to B is positive. You can drink to top up your health, and then use the movement speed boost to get wherever you need to at a faster clip. Quick step should be your second go-to healing item for the speed increase and its efficient healing. Painkillers are easily your number 1 healing choice. You should stock up on quick steps whenever you've got some downtime or are going through the Americana Casino or the Yucatan. Quick steps are also extremely useful for most of the challenges in sandbox mode. You can pre-slam a quick step before starting a challenge to benefit from the increased run speed for the majority of the challenge. Most challenges are only around a minute or 2. Definitely worth slamming a quick step before every single player and co-op challenge, especially the races. Quick steps were built for the races. Randomizer is the weakest mixed drink and should be actively avoided under almost every circumstance. Most of the time it will just make Frank sick. This causes Frank to periodically stop, drop whatever he's carrying, and then vomit. This effect lasts for some time. Randomizers can occasionally give you a random juice effect. Obviously it's not ideal because it's uncontrollable. Ideally you'll get an Energizer, painkiller, or quickstep effect. Alternatively, you could end up getting a zombate effect when you really don't want it. Otherwise, the other mixed juices are easy enough to stockpile and will give you a consistent effect that you want when you want it. You can make a randomizer and consume it as an easy way to make Frank sick so a zombie can slip on the puddle of vomit for the puking rally trophy. The easiest mix for a randomizer is simply using a beer and a whiskey. These are readily available at most of the bars in Fortune City. You can make a randomizer and consume it once when you're going for puking rally, otherwise you should forget it exists and never consume one. The repulse juice will cause zombies to avoid Frank and be repelled if they get too close to him. This effect lasts for 1 minute. The repulse, like all juices, will heal Frank for 6 health blocks. The repulse is easily made in the food court in Rojo Diablo Mexican restaurant. You can make 2 repulses every time you enter the food court by mixing a pizza from Hungry Joe's Pizzeria and a chili together in the blender. There are a few other methods for making repulses, such as beans and apple, but pizza and chili is by far the fastest and most convenient way to stockpile multiple of them. You can think of the repulse like Isabella's anti-zombie perfume from the original Dead Rising. It will cause zombies to actively avoid Frank, and if they get too close, they'll be knocked away. It also causes lots of nearby zombies to essentially shut down. The repulse is part of the standard juice mix for races during the sandbox mode challenges. The repulse is very powerful for stopping zombies from chasing or attacking you while you're trying to do specific tasks or challenges. The repulse is exceptionally good in races, and it's worth drinking a repulse for most of the other challenges in both single player and co-op. Of course, outside of the handful of challenges that are much better off with zombates, you can slam a repulse for almost every challenge if you have one. It will be beneficial. The Spitfire juice will cause Frank to breathe fire when he spits. This effect lasts for 1 minute. To spit, unequip Frank's weapon and aim and shoot it as if you were going to throw a weapon or fire a gun. The Spitfire, like all juices, will heal Frank for 6 health blocks. The easiest location to make Spitfires is in the food court, specifically Hamburger Fiefdom and Rojo Diablo Mexican restaurant next door, which has the blender. The easiest mixes for a Spitfire are hamburger and onion rings, ketchup and mustard, and taco with burrito. Using these mixes, you can easily make 3 to 4 Spitfires every time you enter the food court. Unfortunately, there's absolutely zero practical applications for the Spitfire. It is absolutely terrible in Dead Rising 2 off the record. Instead of being a strong projectile like in Dead Rising, it's now a very small flame burst directly in front of Frank. You need to be essentially on top of a zombie to use it and hit it, and that puts you at very high risk of being grabbed. The flame shot will kill a zombie, but it's awkward to use and significantly worse than just using any of Frank's special moves, even the jump kick. Spitfires hold zero value. They don't even have any use for trophies in Off the Record. Just forget the Spitfire exists. The Untouchable juice will prevent Frank from being grabbed by zombies. This effect lasts for 1 minute. The Untouchable, like all juices, will heal Frank for 6 health blocks. The simplest recipes for Untouchables are hamburger and fries. These are readily available in Hamburger Fiefdom in the food court. You can also use steak and vodka, and large soda with onion rings. Untouchables don't have a ton of specific usage. Preventing Frank from getting grabbed by zombies is in general a strong buff, but it only lasts for 1 minute. Zombies are also not very densely packed in Dead Rising 2 off the record. Places like the maintenance tunnels were legitimately a threat in Dead Rising, but they're so wide and openly spaced in Dead Rising 2 off the record that you can easily dodge around zombies. Untouchables are also largely rendered obsolete by the existence of a repulse. If you're going to make an untouchable, you should just consider making a repulse instead, as it has a much better and broader effect. That being said, for any of the challenges you can and should consume an untouchable as well as a repulse. This is just in case a zombie does attempt to grab you through the repulse's effect, but repulses do usually supersede the untouchable. The Zombate juice will cause zombies to become more aggressive towards Frank. This effect lasts for 1 minute. The Zombate, like all juices, will heal Frank for 6 health blocks. The easiest places to make Zombates are in the food court. You can grab lots of materials from Cheesecake Mania as well as Lombardi's. The most convenient mixes are brownie and cake, and cookies with donut from Cheesecake Mania. But you can kind of ignore Cheesecake Mania. Zombates are best made by using 2 jelly beans from Lombardi's in the food court. Lombardi's is by far the most convenient place to stock up on supplies for multiple Zombates. Then you can mix them in Rojo Diablo Mexican restaurant's blender. You can also use the Chocolate Dreams in the Palisades Mall to stock up on jelly beans and mix them in the blender in the swim bar in the center of the Palisades. Zombates do have minimal usage in Dead Rising 2 off the record. They only have any real usage when you're rescuing survivors. If you're choosing to ignore survivors, the effect is strictly detrimental and should be avoided in most circumstances. If you're rescuing survivors, Zombates will have most of the attention drawn to Frank, which does allow your survivors to more freely make it through hordes of zombies. This can be useful while escorting Denise through the entirety of 72-hour mode for the Alpha vs Omega achievement. The main issue is that Dead Rising 2 survivors are already pretty competent, even with their brain smoothing present and off the record. Survivors will largely be able to pass through hordes easily regardless. If they do get grabbed by a zombie, survivors do have a tendency to break themselves out of trouble more often than not, and if they don't, you can just reload a checkpoint. This largely makes the zombie obsolete for survivors. You can still use them, but the additional attention drawn to Frank will likely make it more trouble to escort survivors than if you didn't use one. Repulses will likely have a similar effect to Zombait, with the superior effect of making zombies less aggressive rather than more aggressive. There are a few challenges in Dead Rising 2 off the record that are made significantly easier with Zombaits, namely the challenge in Slot Ranch Casino's stage and the challenge in the restrooms in Fortune Park. Zombaits help immensely in these challenges. You should absolutely make and consume Zombaits for these challenges in both single player and co-op. That's every mixed juice covered with all of the juicy details. The Quick Step and the Painkiller are the clear winners. Who would have guessed that those would be the best juices to make when there are bars everywhere in Fortune City? The various co-op and single-player challenges make more of the mixed juices have practical applications, especially the Untouchable and Repulse. The Zombait also gets a surprising amount of use in sandbox mode. Just remember that only Frank can drink mixed juices. Always be prepared with some additional healing items if you're rescuing survivors. It can make the difference between an easy rescue and a premature death. Otherwise, you should play bartender and mix the juiciest juices and chug them all down. Unless you're going for Pure Wall Memorial Cup, then stick to the classic orange juice. Thanks for watching, everyone. A special shout out to my Patreon supporters. Your support goes a long way with helping the channel out. If you like the Dead Rising content, you can check out the Dead Rising playlist, which features multiple video guides on how to rescue all the survivors and how to get all of the achievements for the Dead Rising series. You can also like and subscribe for more Dead Rising content coming. Thanks for watching.